As a search for absolute truth, enlightenment stands on the possibility that someone could grasp the deepest nature of existence. This demands an openness to something beyond one's current experience, and could easily be seen as changing one's experience, and perhaps even fundamentally changing the person having the enlightenment. Anyone who entertains the notion of contemplation or achieving enlightenment is already open to change, since they have created for themselves the idea that they can discover something about reality that is not already known. This in turn leads to the idea that changing something fundamental about oneself is possible. And may even be necessary in order to become enlightened. The first thing to consider regarding enlightenment, however, is that we're not trying to change anything. We're trying to grasp what is existentially. When it comes to attaining enlightenment, no change is necessary. The truth is already the truth, and so change is irrelevant. Becoming directly conscious of the nature of self or reality may be seen as a change in consciousness. But that doesn't mean anything changes. That is why it is often referred to as awakening. Enlightenment is not transformation. It is becoming directly conscious of the absolute truth. Such an increase in consciousness can be said to be transformative, because it does tend to change aspects of the person, but that's a side effect that this awakened consciousness has on the mind. Although the central element of any enlightenment is an increase in one's consciousness, this isn't simply becoming aware of some new experience or idea, or having an unusual perception, as is often imagined to be the case. It is directly encountering for oneself the true nature of something, usually oneself. Such an increased consciousness creates a new possibility in which to revisit, as it were, what was previously seen as known, but only assumed to be true. Through the resulting openness, all experience is seen in a new light. The mind is exposed to possibilities previously inconceivable, apparently random aspects of the self-experience, such as long-held beliefs, ingrained personal convictions and outlooks, foundation perspectives that fuel certain characteristic behaviors, are all open to change because they are now seen differently and are often revealed to be unnecessary and ineffective. The scope of such scrutiny depends on the depth of the enlightenment. Still, this is not a function of the enlightenment itself, but of what one's mind does with it. Grasping what's true about your own mind and experience, not the absolute truth of enlightenment, but the truth about why you experience what you do, and why your mind works the way it does is not transformation either, and does not require change. Obviously, comprehending your makeup doesn't demand that anything change, because it's already your makeup. Increasing consciousness about anything isn't about transforming, because you're not trying to change anything. You're simply attempting to understand what is already true. Grasping the true nature of what's there doesn't change what's there. Conversely, if you change or transform what's there, that doesn't mean you have in any way grasped the true nature of what's there. Perhaps you imagine that you need to transform yourself into someone who can then grasp the truth. But this postulates that the truth is separate from you and unattainable until you build the ladder of a transformed self to reach it, or some such metaphor. Yet, the truth is already the truth. You don't need to change a thing. Transformation, on the other hand, is change. Transformation is a complete change, usually into something with an improved appearance or usefulness. Trans is to go beyond. Formation is the action of forming, or process of being formed. Why are we motivated to change? The most common draw to attempt transformation will likely be suffering of some kind, often in the form of ineffective or painful social relations, or self-disappointment. When this is the case, people will be responsive to any promise that claims to lift them out of their suffering. Some sort of pain or dissatisfaction may be the motive to attempt change. But such a motive is actually secondary to the matter of transformation itself. Another reason to pursue, or at least fantasize about, transforming might be the desire to perfect your self-image. At first, you may not see this motive as linked to suffering, because trying to accomplish a positive self-image appears as a good and hopeful possibility. Yet if you look more closely, you see that the desire for a better self-image, how you see yourself and want to be seen by others, or a better experience of and for yourself overall, arises from the assessment that whatever you have now isn't good enough. That in itself is a form of suffering. While it may not be obvious at first glance, your motive for attempting transformation is likely to be based on suffering. Cultural assumptions and beliefs provide an array of standards from which to assess your place in the community, so any ideal image of transformation is bound to be based on both cultural and personal values about what it is to be an acceptable or lovable or worthy person. These can vary, yet are always based on wanting to experience yourself in a way that you feel you do not now. which means you suffer with the belief that your current experience is inadequate. Understanding what runs us or holds us back is our first step toward finding a way to get free from these drives and barriers. This may be difficult, but not impossible. Contemplation and honest investigation into our personal experience are necessary whether we desire change or simply want to recognize what's there. The unseen core that shapes our personality and personal agenda. In fact, much hinges on an honest investigation of oneself, but we need to go beyond what's true for us personally. It is important to realize that we all share cultural assumptions and human design parameters that force us down roads of dissatisfaction, as well as entice us to engage in fruitless efforts to resolve this distress. Even our motives for desiring change must come under scrutiny. Understanding all this takes deliberate, usually long-term effort, but the final outcome isn't the only reason to take on such investigation. Simply making the shift to investigating the foundations of our experience already makes a big difference in our experience. When we contemplate something, we have immediately changed our relationship and perspective to the matter, and this indeed changes our experience of it. This simple act opens the door for transcending whatever we contemplate, instantly creating the possibility of understanding the matter rather than just suffering its effects.